Who are these people and what have they done with AV? My goodness. Rusty.
Yeah.
That was unlike we have seen AV in quite a while.
I think we've seen only moments of a team that AV seems like they're going to be in the second split of the OPL. You know, remember that yesterday we saw them with Gunkrab playing as well, and even he had a fantastic performance. So if you consider this team, they come into the second split, they take on some pretty big opposition today in particular as well in the Dire Wolves, and they handle them with no troubles at all. And that's the crazy thing, right? Like, Direwolves, we could speak towards them, their strategy in this game and things like that, but when you look at just AV, it was confident play, they got leads early where they needed to, they punished where they needed to, and they never really looked like losing, and they gave Direwolves no options other than an ARAM in mid lane, and then they beat them at it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that, you know, whilst it's awesome to talk about Avant Gaming, I do think you have to talk about, like, the defending grand finalists, right, and the kind of week that they've had, week one. They're playing frustrating comps again. They're playing comps that, like, enemy teams have to come into them, make mistakes, and then they can, like, rebound and punish, right? Whereas the style we saw them have the most success for in the playoffs was when they were playing, like, the opposite comps. They were playing, like, the just go forward comps. When they had the Malphite, when they had the Poppy, stuff like that. I thought that they looked, like, worlds different. Vladimir for Chippies was a huge pickup as well in the Order series, and he looked unstoppable on that. So I just think that sometimes you fiddle with stuff over the offseason, just because, like, it's like, okay, cool, we now have 10 weeks to get this right. So we can, you know, maybe make some tweaks. But I really enjoyed the way Direwolves were playing at the end of last split. And I think that they've maybe changed too much. I think Vital, for example, needs to win bottom lane. So I don't think you can play Yuumi with him, because Yuumi doesn't win any bottom lanes. You can have the best AD carry on the patch, and if you put a Yuumi in the lane still sucks. So I just think that there are a couple of little things that I'd like to see them tweak to get back to the Direwolves that we saw in the grand final and make that awesome run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I look at them playing right now, I do think that they hit off-season, and they would have said, like, this is working for us. So what are we missing, right? Like, we still didn't win, so we do need to change something, and I think they've gone for that full, like, maybe we keep the team fighting in the back pocket. Let's do the whole 180 and perfect a second strategy. But here we are, right? They're 0-2 in the first week, and maybe they should just go back to what does work and do it better.
Yeah, normally I would agree with you, but the thing I would say is that they only discovered what worked for them in Game 3 versus Order. Like, it's not like we've given them a ton of time to work on this new style they found. They played it in 3 best ofs and then, you know, were eliminated, unfortunately, in the grand final. So I just think that they kind of stumbled across it through some really cool picks that Chippy's had in his back pocket, and now they've kind of, you know, gone back to basics. I also think that Decoy and Cupcake are very different players. Watching Cupcake in the pre-show, actually, when Direwolves went to Worlds, you see how aggressive he is and how he starts those fights. And obviously Decoy's playing Yuumi, so he can't do that. But I just think that that was also something in that gauntlet run that added a lot more danger to this Direwolves lineup.
It also just looked like Direwolves just collapsed there. They just did not know what to do. I mean, at the end there, it was just, someone please think of the children. It was a combination of that and put them out of their misery. So there you go. Surprises all around. Chiefs, Direwolves, these teams that seemed so unstoppable last split, obviously pretty handily stopped this weekend so far. But what won't stop is the Nick Bag. Roll those titles. I'm going to put these on because I feel left out not wearing glasses. Before we dive headfirst into the Nick Bag, you want to dive headfirst into the League of Legends store, and Neosurf is going to help you do that. Thanks to our partner Neosurf, you can be part of the OPL opening titles video. Win yourself a $500 Neosurf voucher to use in the League store. You just take a video of yourself joining our opening titles phone call, follow OPL and Neosurf Esports on Twitter, and then share that video using the hashtag NeosurfWin. You've got until week 3 of the OPL to get the entries in. Skimmy is a harsh mistress of a judge, and he is going to crack down on you. So make them creative, make them interesting, really amp it up, and then the winner is going to take home $500 in League of Legends store credit thanks to Neosurf, and then 5 runners-up will also get themselves a $100 voucher each. Full terms and conditions are on watch.lolesports.com. Big thanks to our partner NeoSurf, where you can keep control of your payments in currencies around the world. There's only one currency that counts, it's RP. All right. The Nick bag. We're starting off with something that I feel could get controversial. And really, we're starting off with a question that needs skimmy here. Davo Erlo writes in, apart from Nick Boy's bad jokes, have you ever done something that almost got you arrested?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you guys have an answer?
I have like 5. But Spawn, you go first.
I was going to say, I am the most nerdiest nerd in the world. I stay at home reading books, playing video games. I don't think I've done anything that has almost got me arrested.
Really? I would have thought that. I mean, I expected this from Rusty. That Rusty's a straight edge. Look at that haircut. But you're a loose unit in person, Spawn.
Yeah, I am. Okay, I've had a couple of nights out that haven't gone ideal in my time, Nick. Rusty's smiling his head off right now.
I can't talk about mine on air. That's the
yeah. I just don't know how incriminating we want to go here.
Yeah.
I've
Not
got some
too
scars on my hands. That's what I will say. From interesting activities.
Wow, that's so macho of you. Mine was for public urination.
The Brendan Favola, as we call it in Victoria.
I have a few, but the big one was that we're just out, needed to pee, peed on a wall. My mate also was in the same situation. He peed through a fence into a Toyota dealership. The popo turned up. We both ran. He was much slower. He got caught. He then needed to get my dad, who was a justice of the peace, to come to court and vouch for his character. And I was like, I was never there. I have no idea why Ben would do something that crazy. It got bad for my mate. He nearly got put on some sort of like public exposure list, which you do not want to be on. And it was like, come on. He's like a 17-year-old just doing a whiz bomb. Sure, it was on a new Corolla, but come on, that's all that car's worth anyway. Okay, well, let me know in the chat.
Thank
what
goodness,
you guys
no Corolla partner.
Oh, they know I have a Toyota. It's fine. Okay, next question. Let me know in the chat, by the way, if anyone has a good story about that. Jerkenstein, how do you go about convincing yourself to move on from a workplace in which you feel like you're stagnating, beyond just finding a new workplace, but being able to continually improve and become a better version of yourself?
So there are 2 answers to this one, right? There is, when I put corporate Jake hat on, it's like, never leave a job until you have your next job set up. Security is everything in current times, especially given how much unrest is everywhere. The dollar is crappy and the stock market is trying to recover. So like having a secure job right now is really important for stability. So that's like corporate Jake, right? And so the way you go about that is you apply to other jobs, don't let your boss know, take extended lunch breaks, and find another job, and then leave in a blaze of glory, Ari Gold style, paintball up an office or something. The actual answer as I get older is if you don't like your work, leave. And figure it out.
There you go.
And I've done this before. I just didn't enjoy insurance anymore, so I just pieced. And now I've been kind of meandering my way through an esports existence for like 3 years. Mm-hmm. And do I earn more money? No. Do I have more time on my hands? No. Am I happier?
Was it the right choice?
Maybe. That's all that's important, right? So I would say just leave. Do something else.
Yeah, I was thinking something similar I wouldn't say just leave, but that is definitely, if you can, one way to do it. My first thought was like, do you know what you want to do to become a better version of yourself, right? Like that self-discovery is probably a pretty important step. You could do it by just applying to new places and finding that out by doing. But if you can take the time while still having the stable job, like learn more about yourself and what it is you really want to do and be able to apply yourself to that. It could be studying part-time, right? So that affects what your workplace provides.
Yeah, I actually think that's great advice because it could just be the workplace, but he still like this person still likes the I keep thinking genre of work, the style of work that they're in, the career path, but not necessarily just the specific part of it that they're in now. So yeah, bringing some enrichment to your life somewhere else. But also, I'm with Spawn on this. Just blow it up. Just blow up your life. It's fine, because most of the time you land on your feet. Every decision I've ever made has led me to, like, I've never gone backwards in my life, really. You figure it out. You find a way. That's the amazing thing about being a person, is you just, like, take that leap, go find something that you're passionate about. Not League of Legends. Don't do that, because we have these jobs. And there's a really good chance that you're better at that than we are. So don't do that.
The other thing is, anyone that tells you otherwise is like from 40 years ago when, people did the same job for 50 years. Like, whereas like half the jobs in 20 years aren't even around yet. So chances are you're going to have to change career anyway. And the other chance is that we're going to work until we're like 102 because Super is stuffed. So like, just enjoy what you're doing, man, because you got to do it for a very long time.
Absolutely. What you don't have very long until is the next game, because we are about to jump into Champ Select. It's Pentanet.gg versus Mammoth. Rusty, PGG gave us a surprise yesterday against Chiefs. Mammoth gave us what we were expecting from Mammoth. Is that going to be the same tonight?
It's very hard to say with a team like Pentanet.gg. There was definitely expectations on them in the first split. We did see a blinder of them yesterday. But once again, solidifying that ability to play, like AV did today, is something that you would want to see from Pentanet.gg. If they can do that without the fiddlesticks or, without the composition thrown in there, then absolutely they're contenders.
All this game is about the top laner that became a jungler and said he's going to become the best jungler, and the mid laner that became a top laner that said he's going to become the best top laner. That's all I'm looking for. I'm just tracking the two individual lane swap journeys. See, be like Lived and Pabu. They had security in their own roles, and they were like, you know what? We're blowing it up. We're going to become the best elsewhere.
That's good. I love that piece of advice. So depending on the outcome of this match, Jurgenstein, then that's the answer that you will get for your question about changing careers. All right, it is time to jump into game number 3. It's PGG versus MMM, and it is happening with the Max Champ Select.
So tonight's game against Pentanet will be fairly close, I reckon. And I'm really eager to verse Pabu in the jungle.
So yeah, for the second game of the first week of OPL, we play off against Pentanet. They dropped Silly in the sub and picked up Pabu and put him in the jungle, who was previously a top laner. Interesting to see how that dynamic works, and again, I'm still confident in my teammates and we can pull away a clean sweep victory.
Both Mammoth and Pentanet have had roster shuffles in the off-season, but I'm confident that we stack up better across the board and we can beat them.
I think we're going to take the win against Pentanet. I think we have much stronger players in each role, so I think we should come out with the win in the end.
Well, here we are for our very third game of the day. Pentanet.gg taking on Mammoth, a team that will be searching for their victory, still looking to try and evolve themselves with these new acquisitions. And the same can be said here for Pentanet, that had an identity, had an idea, and have really made the rest of the league now respect the sake of a Fiddlesticks.
Yeah, there was a Fiddlesticks ban last game, and whether that was something that Lisa would play or if it was just Pabu. I mean, we don't know if that's leaked into the rest of the teams, so what we do know is that teams scrim in practice, Skimmy, and it's entirely possible that Pentanet.gg and Avant with some scrim partners in the lead up to this split of the OPL. Nevertheless, we are already 4 bans into our draft.
Let's see exactly what they look to try and target away. It's going to be the Yasuo Graves and the Yumi denied away here from Mammoth. A few picks here that should not come as any major surprise here, with Bass having a major affinity towards being aggressive in the jungle, and Arctic known to do weird and wacky things. I believe we've seen him go for the Heimerdinger as support. We've seen him not be afraid to rock and roll with the Blitzcrank, and in what's becoming more of a Enchanter focus bot lane. Could have been a nail in the coffin to try and throw up a bit of a disruption there.
Yeah, certainly possible that we'll still see something like the Karma with the Soraka, however, as support matchup. So yet to see that. However, we do have the Aphelios as a first pick and as a lock in One thing to note here, Skimmy, with the last ban of Mammoth on the red side, they've gone for the Ornn ban. So they've taken away one of the big super tanks, one of the staples, honestly, that we have seen in the first week of the OPL this split. So now we have to actually explore some other options up in that top lane. Maokai's still definitely one of the tanks that is remaining and as a possibility, but that's not something that Mammoth are going to look towards just yet.
The bans that come out here from Pentanet, essentially the exact same as what they had yesterday when they went into the Chiefs. The only variation being they had a Nidalee ban instead of the Graves, so they've got a clear identity of what they do not want to be going into. The response as their opponents when they verse the Chiefs, they look to try and take away the Varus the Syndra as well. So you look at that from a clean slate standpoint of they'll sort of know what their game plan is. They've locked in here with the Aphelios, still arguably one of the best AD carries in the game. But it's going to be a case of you're going to go into the set, you're going to go into the Karma. We talk about the flexibility between top, mid, and support. Still a case to be made here. We're unsure exactly what Mammoth are trying to bring.
Yeah, and I think that Karma, while it is a strong pick outright, might have been a takeaway potentially from Pentanet.gg as well. Now that you've got the Karma as your support, you could put any ADC with it. You know, we see the Caitlyn earlier. Pretty easy to force lane priority when you have a pushing or very aggressive AD with a Karma who could do the same thing in the early levels. PGG on the other side have actually gone much more of a standard approach for them, I think is what I would explain it as. Rogue, very big hook champion, enthusiast. So he's going to pick up that Thresh. And he's now got the Aphelios, so a lot of potential kill threats going to be there for both of them, especially around the Gravitum when they have the root available from the Aphelios. Hard to kill, however, are their opponents.
Very much so, and as we've sort of seen from the first two games today already, it's all about push, prio, poke, and just straight up annoyance in this bottom lane. That's not going to change here with the Israel and Karma now being a very real possibility for Mammoth, and if there was anybody I would bet my money on to try and really disrupt that influence with a Fresh, it would be Rogue. So very happy to see him once again be allowed that pick, have the opportunity to utilize it. And also on the flip side of that, get back. He didn't play Azir last split, but I've seen what he can do when given the chance, and this definitely adds another layer to their complexity of just outright bullying you.
Yeah, but it is the blind Azir. So I would say that there are things that can beat Azir, but you don't often see them. One of the staples in mid lane mages, if you're competing against one another, is if you have more range, you win the lane. And so, like, I'm not going to say it's going to be picked, but to me, things like Varus as a mid laner, of course, it's banned, and Xerath, Vel'Koz are two options into the Azir as well that you might see as counters. We don't know exactly what Chang'e's champion pool is either. Might even just see a standard mage in that middle lane. We might even see the Karma go there if they deem a support more valuable to go into the hands of Artek instead.
Yeah, still very terrified of what Artek may be flexing towards, given that it's very real that the Karma and the set could be there, but definitely could be flexed elsewhere. And he's showcased what he can do with that Blitzcrank before, so I don't mind the ban with the Maokai and the Wukong coming out as a response. Biopanther known for being able to have an insanely huge champion pool, not afraid to really flex out anything that is required of him. We've seen him rock and roll with a Singed to try and beat out a set, and quite effectively as well.
Yeah, we didn't actually see a Senna in this game at all. Not through the picks or the bans from the looks of it here as well, which, you know, was a very big priority champion everywhere, really. You've got the Maokai, you've got the Wukong, the set, like all of these champions couple with it brilliantly, but it's not going to be seen today. We're actually, all right, we're going to see an Ahri.
We are definitely changing things up in here. Maybe one of the joys of coming back as one of the first competitive regions is, you know, there is no inspiration to be drawn from elsewhere. It's just, this worked for us in solo queue, this worked for us in scrims. Let's bring it to the international. Well, let's bring it to the big stage with this many viewers tuning in.
We'll see exactly how that Ahri is able to perform. We've got a Janna now being picked.
Okay.
I'm starting to lose my marbles looking at this. Is this
breaking?
There was a top lane Janna time period, but I thought that was taken away with the changes to Spell Thieves. Now we just have a Thresh Janna.
I'm
the cogs are ticking real slowly.
I'm a little bit confused. Yes, you could say Soraka's come back. They made a few changes to stop her being there, but then the most recent changes meant that she's a very real possibility once again. I believe that Janna was shut out of that, but hey, if you've got Pablo on your team, especially if you've got Biopanther too, maybe those two have been brainstorming ideas of how to break the meta and how to continue this identity that Western Way wants to really promote for them.
So Janna can handle a set pretty well. If set has no flash, then he has no chance to close the distance, right? If we're going to look at this as a strict 1v1, and explain what that really means. It means that you have to be able to flash onto the Janna to lock her down, and probably pre-6 as well to secure those kills. 1, she's fast. 2, she has a slow for you. And 3, if you manage to dodge her tornado, she still has the W above all of that. She has good wave control to a degree. But like I mentioned, often when you saw this pick in top lane, it was because you could go for the Spell Thieves and just farm freely, and you wouldn't be going for champion. For minion kills, and you would have Pabu coming up there to collect it. Pabu also needs to swap off teleport if he's going to be jungling.
You would really hope so.
I was speaking through the Janna top lane, in the back of my mind I was like, please swap to smite, please swap to smite. Like, I don't think my head could handle a non-smiting champion because he can't jungle.
That would just really confuse things.
There's no way.
Maybe he's auto-filled from when he was playing top lane on Gravitas, who knows. You'd hope that he's changed things around, and you'd imagine it would be the case, but I'm incredibly curious as to how Biopanther wants to play things out here. Obviously, you've got the hard initiation in the bot lane for them to try and really counteract this poke that we're seeing become a more prevalent strategy over this weekend, but the matchup for me that's of most excitement, apart from this Janna set, has to be the Azir into the Ahri. The Ahri we have not seen for such a long time, and when we have seen, it's tended to go for the Glacial Augment active route.
Yeah, so one of the things, we'll look at his runes because there's 2 options, right? There's the Glacial Augment, you can roam around the map, get a lot of picks off potentially. There's the second one, which is the Electrocute if you're looking to do just the maximum amount of damage.
Yeah.
So that type of build is something we'll have to look at. When you look at the mid lane matchup itself as well, there is kill threat for that Ahri, especially if there's any jungle presence in the nearby area to reinforce Chungi in this case on that Ahri. And that is because if Azir uses his Q forwards, he doesn't have as much of a disengage. Ahri can then potentially be the aggressor, try and hit those charms with the ultimate himself. So one of those matchups where it's possible that you get the kills, but at the same time, you're always looking at that Azir and saying, he's pretty much a rock in mid lane. He's just going to push waves, keep you busy. The other thing that I wanted to mention, Skibby, for the people that are watching this game and they're like, why on earth does Pabu not have Smite? We still don't know until we're in game. They can change it at 0 seconds. We don't get to see that until we're in game itself, so just keep that in mind. It may still be just a pure jungle Pabu on the Trundle, and that's what we expect.
You'd hope so, because if anything else comes out, then we've really broken your marbles. We may now have to go to the shops afterwards and buy you a new set, which is definitely going to be a case. We can't break Rusty too early on. We broke him yesterday with a few giggles, and he's been cool, calm, collected to start things off with here, so we can't get that off to a bad start, can we?
I'm going on Twitter, just so everyone knows.
Okay.
If this is a legitimate strategy and I've missed it, feel free to tweet at me and let me know. It's below my name right now, so I don't think I missed something. I'm pretty sure it's just a Smite Trundle. But
That's an easy little
just
plug.
let me know if I'm wrong.
I like that. What is interesting is, so Chungi on the side of Mammoth was an RMIT Redbacks player, playing for the university, playing for their OCS squad. And Pabu, on the flip side of that, was their coach. So there's a bit of pride on the line here. Coach versus player. I saw them having a bit of an exchange on Twitter only moments before this game as to, could there be a bit of an interaction there as to almost your analogy of like the apprentice trying to outplay the master. We'll get to see that sort of interaction take place here because I'm sure there's going to be fun to be had in that regard.
Yeah, apprentice versus master. Perhaps we're also looking at role swap players having a crack at one another. Pabu in that different role. And of course... I forgot his name's not on the screen. I've lost his name off the top of my head, but swapping to top lane as well. Lived. Swapping to top lane as well. So those 2 roster swaps will be interesting to explore. If I was Pabu, because he has the ability to do this, Liv does not, I'd be camping top lane. I'd be putting the foot down. There were some big words that actually came out of Liv saying top lane's easy, he's going to smack them all down, no worries. Well, there's one way to stop that one, and one of them's play a non-interactive top laner. Try winning lane against the Janna. She's just going to not interact with you. The other one is bring a Trundle up there. Even more annoying.
And that's what's always interesting for me, because I feel like we've had a time in place where there was a definite cool period where everyone was very much the case of, we're here just to play the games. The trash talk kind of went out the door for a second, but to sort of see it come back with Liv already saying, I can flex between these roles, it's going to be so damn easy, and then to come out with a performance like that yesterday where Avant really just came to it and smacked him out of the park. I'm excited to see exactly what he brings into this one. Obviously, he played Ornn yesterday. Going to be rocking and rolling on the set today. And maybe going to be thrown off a little bit here, given the fact that it is going to be that Janna, which, we're still confused as to the viability on. You touch on the Spell Thieves interaction. was really nerfed. Obviously, the most impressive of them all was the Yi Tarek interaction, but it's going to be interesting to see what kind of idea, strategy Biopanther has cooked up, because this is like I said, this is a guy that is not afraid to bust out weird and wacky things. He played Singe, he played Scion, he will rock anything just to try and find an edge.
He does do weird things. So just to give some extra context to the pick itself, it's a style of character like the Soraka is, right? You play top lane, you can farm. It's not going to be as easy perhaps as a Janna compared to Soraka to farm, but you don't have to continue to farm once you get your core items, and usually they'll be cheap, like an Athene's. Let's just say you have Athene's, you're good to go. So then you start grouping with your Aphelios. You've got 2 supports for the Aphelios, and you've got an Azir and an Aphelios, so only 2 champions who need to catch farm in waves. So they get funneled more gold for themselves while you're already a self-sufficient champion, right? That's the idea. Trundle might also be able to get more farm while taking some creep waves and doing the jungle. So they give resources where necessary to the carry champions who need the gold, and then they give no resources or very little to those who don't need it because that's the champions they've chosen. That all sounds fine strategically, right? If you get to that point. The question is always, how do you get to that point successfully? Because by picking a champion like that, they need to be able to either win lane or survive the lane. They generally would need to be strong-sided to be empowered to get to those items as well. And then you run the risk of, say in this game, the Janna in top lane might want some support. Then suddenly you've got an Aphelios and a Thresh against a pushing bottom lane, a harassing, poking bottom lane of an Ezreal Karma, and that could be hard to deal with.
And that's what I want to touch on, is this bot lane interaction and how you can really try and shut down this poking interaction, because it is becoming so prevalent, it is becoming so annoying, and it feels like a lot of teams right now are having such a major advantage by running it and going uncontested in their ability to try and shut it down. A quick update for you guys watching. There is a slight delay in getting this game started, hence why we're sitting on this draft screen for a little bit longer than we would like. I've just been made word that it's only a minute away, so the talk show will not be going anywhere anytime soon, but we will be getting into game very shortly, so do not worry. But Rusty, quick closing up wraps on this one. You're looking at that poke harassment. What would you like to see Praetor and Rogue try to bring to this one?
Man, I think that, for one, individually, they're very good players. They're very good mechanical players, and they're very good at playmaking themselves. And so what would I want to see from them? Aggression. I want to see them be able to make plays. Again, it's not the easiest lane for them to do that in, right? It's going to be very difficult for them to get anything done, but they have the capabilities as individuals. You know, Rogue is one of those people that will run Hex Flash on a lot of his support champions that have engages like the Thresh. So he's probably going to be able to make those plays and maybe close the distance there where things could be difficult in the 2v2 and in the lane. I would like to see that from them, but again, it's hard to do.
And would we like to see an early level 2 engage? I saw from the draft screen they had Exhaust and Ignite. We saw that yesterday for that very early engage potential to try and snowball themselves the lead, but it isn't to be the case. Praetor has now swapped across to the heal. But here we go into game number 3. Pentanet.gg up against Mammoth.
He has
Coach
Smite
against player. Smite is there. Nothing weird and wacky out of that idea. But bot lane has to become the priority to try and shut this down. But then we have to turn our attention to top side to see how this Janna actually plays.
Angry bees in the mid lane there from the Azir, you would expect, and you would like to see a very calm and slow start to this game. The Trundle can get some early aggressive moves off, especially once you've got that pillar. Your gank threat, while it isn't, this raw stun that you could throw down onto someone, it's very good at forcing summoner spells, and that does mean that you can then repeat gank lanes. So maybe we'll see some early movements here from Pabu. Yesterday when we were watching him play, his jungle pathing was very decent. It made him get through a jungle clear against a champion picked against him. He was playing Fiddlesticks against the Olaf. He survived it and ended up prospering, right? So something we'll have to look at once again is how Pabu continues to try and mega mind the OPL junglers.
It's such a strong interaction with the rest of his laners, given the fact they had a combination that surrounded the opposition in darkness, made them fear, and resulted in the light coming back on, but less players being present to continue the fight. Get back up against Chungi, whose introduction was on his pocket pick with the Kaiser. Yep. Unable to resemble the same amount of performances he had in the OCS, where it was very much a clutch or kick situation. He definitely got an introduction in
he was thrown in the deep end quickly, wasn't he?
Oh, it was definitely, this is the OCS, but this is the OPL. That's the bar.
That game started with just a crazy set of skirmishes. The bot side of mid, I remember that one, where very unfortunate for Chungi. He rocks up to the fight, and it was already decided basically against them. So maybe something that where a game isn't decided roughly 4 minutes in would be the way to go in this one, to get to see more of Mammoth and what they can do. Here comes Babu.
Very early interaction, as you highlight. The tornado goes down. The flash is the response. Both are going to connect. And with double buff, Babu makes light work of the trash talk and says, lived, you're not living.
Yeah, I mean, that's one, what you wanted to see from Pabu against the Trash Talker, but two, what you want to see from the Trundle. He does use the flash, of course, has the Nimbus Cloak, has got Phase Rush there as well. So very easy to lock down a champion like Set, whose biggest counterplay is walking faster than normal. And he can't even do that if he's walking away. Once again, Pabu's going to have another look in lane here. Maybe just say, hey, you go to Chuggy, keep him honest.
That's something I was quite excited about, right? Ever since we saw the mid-season streamathon, I was speaking with Pablo and saying, you know, what can we expect when it actually comes into the regular season? Are we going to see that sort of same amount of aggression? He says, oh, you know, for sure. You know, and the results we've been having in scrims, I'm really excited to see what we can actually bring to the table. So after game number 1 and how that played on that, you come into this one, they retain all that aggression already. Pablo already getting a kill and definitely keeping Chungy in check. Very excited to see how his jungling career continues to grow.
I feel like so far everything's going mostly to play except for the junglers. But even then, you know, they're currently vertical jungling on the other side, taking raptors from one another. The things that I think are important to point out is the Azir is pushing. He definitely has that advantage over an Ahri, especially this early, as once again they're looking.
Yeah, caught in the wrong spot of that tower. Only one way to turn, and that's to go down. But that's actually going to bait into Bash, who drops down the sphere. Unable to connect with that stun, but at least will protect his mid laner. Able to retain onto that flash. And was in a lot of trouble there. Didn't have the Orb of Deception for the heal. Didn't have any potions left as well. And Get Back was sniffing for trouble. Really, really craving an easy 2-kill lead.
But again, to the point, right? You've got top lane just trying to harass. You've got bot lane being heavily pushed in here for Pentanet.gg, right? You've got Emboma and Artek putting in some work. It's the Ezreal Karma. Kind of what you would expect. Things going standard, except for the fact that those junglers start to get themselves into the mix. There is a slight camp lead, I believe, there for Bass. But overall, Pub has put in a little bit more work around the Rift, and it shows with just that top lane extra kill that he gets in his pocket.
See Biopanther there, no skill spent into his shield just yet for easier CSing underneath that tower. Gonna do what he can best to combine that with the Zephyr as well as the Tornado. Pick up as much CS as possible, which is actually done a fantastic job despite the pushing power that can come out of the set. Meanwhile, you look bottom lane, and the CS is definitely in touching distance. The poke harass has not grown out of major control, but they will definitely be able to keep up the pressure given the fact that Emboma is running the teleport. Easier access to come back online and utilize the pushing power that the Sheen does provide him with.
Yeah, pretty similar actually between mid and bot regarding those differences. So that does bring your attention once again to what do you want to see in those lanes, maybe to sway the balance in some way or close the gaps, maybe even accelerate leads depending on the team that you look at. Trundle has no flash, so his ability to commit to kills is a little bit harder, but forcing a summoner spell down in bottom lane is something that could be very valuable. That means you have to be looking at vision control first and foremost from PGG around that 2v2, and they are just fresh off a reset. So that's something you'd expect to see perhaps in a minute from now. But the same thing could be said for Bass, looking for mid and for bot lane himself. They're getting closer to that dive territory, mainly Bass hitting level 6. If they wanted to build a wave, threaten to dive the bottom lane in the 2v2, that would accelerate Emboma and Artek even further, and we do know that Emboma is a fantastic mechanical player who has the capabilities of carrying a game, and Ezreal is also one of his best champions.
That it most certainly is. And you can see that there is no ability for them to get outpushed in any form or fashion. Definitely going to keep Pentanet locked underneath this tower, which definitely gives Bass an opportunity to always be present around this part of the jungle.
They're looking at 4-man actually, from the looks of it, although they will change their mind at the last second. Their Chungy's going to go back to mid lane. Azir is going to be very annoying to deal with, constantly pushing, so opportunities to move for Chungy will be far and few between. You have to, if you commit, be very confident in the decision. But you've got the red being taken here from Bass as well. Once again, the vertical jungling will continue. One of them on the Drake side of the map, however, and with 45 seconds until the Herald is even available. does mean a small window of opportunity presents itself in favor of Mammoth.
It's definitely all about damage control for Pentanet as well in that bottom lane as to not falling too low from the exchanges by being underneath your tower, trying to pick up as much CS for free as possible. You can see a leader's definitely growing, at least 15 CS is the difference, but it has given Bass a lot of time to gain control by laying down a lot of vision as a result. You can see it for the entrance into the jungle by Raptors and one on the enemy red buff itself. Dragon has spawned, Dragon is ready. And the early lane priority will allow them to walk over nice and easily, but this, I suppose, is starting to make a little bit more sense now in terms of why it's strong, much like his Singed pick. The Grit, the Haymaker, very much a strong utility against the burst. But the whittle down that the Janna is bringing is what I want to make in my statement there. Rusty,
it's hardly whittling a thing. Set's such an annoyingly sustainable champion, right? He can build damage. He's, of course, going to go for the Merc Treads first. That makes sense. But now that he's got that Merc Treads, like, he hardly takes damage from Bio Panther. This comes back to the original point while we were waiting for the game to really kick off, was, like, you'll get the Athenes, you might get 1.5 items, whatever it is. There'll be a certain point where there's more value in you just grouping. Or all you'll be doing at that side lane is just being a nuisance, but you're going to be a tickle cannon. You're not even going to do too much damage to live.
Let's see what it actually does mean in the greater good of things as they collapse and group up as 5. Treading across the Dragon, but giving themselves
even keep
the Herald.
Biopanther there, right? Like, you could actually 4-man top lane potentially off that reset.
He is indeed. He really wants to hunt for that flash. Are they going to go for the 1v1? He's looking for it. Electrocute or proc and a Spirit Dash away to ensure he can hold on for that Summoner spell as long as is required.
That was a fascinating interaction. Phase Rush procs, and in the process of having Phase Rush, he gets charmed, but because his movement speed is so high, it didn't seem like he was slowed at all. He actually closed the gap to Chuggy while charmed.
Thanks for the charm. I'll just keep chasing on top of you. Both junglers here present in the top side as the Joy flip. No objective for them to contest, but it will be a chance for Pentanet to stem the bleeding from the harassment and the siege assault on these plates pre-14.
Chungy with no ultimate does still have both summoner spells, but you can see this is where the pressure is going to go here, Skimmy. They've even got Rogue nearby. They're going to leave Aphelios on an island, and they'll go for the turret plates in mid. It might be a case of get the second Herald and look to break the mid lane turret from that alone. But it's clear that they are just comfortable farming. They are just comfortable continuing to get gold into the hands of their carries and just be very opportunistic with their moments if they go to start looking at all. Item spike's obviously going to be a big thing that we look at here. Waiting for that Janna first item, waiting for those Azir items. Big breakpoints there as well, and the 200 years of experience start to come online around the 2.5 to 3 item point for Praedyth as well.
But touching back on your Herald point now, you could see that they weren't too phased on actually collecting the tower itself. It was all about investing into his business. He was their prime resource. Get him online as early as possible. He's found himself a CS advantage, given the damage, given the goods, and he will for sure deliver in terms of being a massive impact, bringing so much damage. We know what Azirs can do when they hit those breakpoints as well. So you look at Pentanet and say a couple of items, and the ball is for sure online. And that's what 200 years of experience looks like there. You can you can poke and harass. Well, I can do it just as well.
200 years of experience, 2,000 range is as you'd like. He's able to poke down Artek. Of course, it is just Boots of Lucidity on a Karma, so pretty fragile champion. They are being pressured up here, but it might be one plate if they're lucky. Actually, they'll get a flash for it. Very aggressive from Mboma. This won't stop.
They found their moment. Praedyth going to be utilising that minion wave to the best of his ability to sustain himself, but without any health potions and without a support that can assist him in that department, he is forced to recall.
A little bit of a different build this time as well from our Azirs in the OPL. It's going to be Get Back doing Lost Chapter, most likely into the Nash's Tooth first. Of course, Lost Chapter as a standalone item is very valuable as you level up, keeping that mana sustain. And if you're playing the role of being a pusher, in mid lane, just constantly using spells to harass and push minion waves, then you do need that Lost Chapter. It does mean, though, he doesn't have any boots. He hasn't got magical footwear either. That's very clear. We're past the 12-minute mark in this game. So he's going to have to buy them sooner or later. But for the moment, just going to be pushing hard, pushing fast, doing some extra damage, and doing it very slowly as he walks and waddles around the rift.
Hasn't been under too much pressure from the jungle interactions, and certainly he's received a fair bit of attention from his own jungler to ensure that he's under no kill threat. So he's able to optimize into full damage as opposed to utility and mobility. The attempt does not connect as Parva was sniffing for an opportunity, but we'll use that time to clear out the vision as the next dragon is now spawning in under 10 seconds. And Rusty, you know, Biopemper's gone mostly unchecked. Yes, she's fallen a little bit down in CS, but it's to be expected, much the same as you'd see when you have an enchanter in the top lane, but you get a couple of core items online and it's business as usual.
I mean, sure. What can we say about Biopanthers before, but so far? He has used so many buttons on Liv and it does nothing. He's now taking plates for free while being harassed. That was a second rotation of W. Maybe we got him to half health. That, like, it's not phasing set at all. He's got Trinity Force in his build. Merc Treads was all he needed in terms of defensive items. There's no pressure on that side of the map, and Liv is still going to be able to take turret plates. That's a big set.
It'd be interesting to see what it actually means when he groups up for these team fights and how it actually comes to fruition in a full 5v5 as opposed to the lane bully assessment as the 14-minute mark comes online. That's it for the turret plates. The dragon was achieved there by Pentanet based on the amount of attention shown this way. The lane pushed in on the 2v1 and Pabu continuing to make sure that Chungi wasn't able to try and close the distance, but they were finding advantages elsewhere, in particular on that set that we just briefly touched upon.
But the thing you have to consider here is we could discuss the potentials of a 5v5 between these teams, but we should also discuss the potentials of never seeing one. Like, you go the Trinity Force set build, you can split push to your heart's content. You don't necessarily need to go the Blade of the Ruin King build because you're not going to be interacting with your lane opponent, no matter who it is. You could have the Azir, you could have the Aphelios up there. But if someone comes to you, then it's not going to be as simple for the PGG roster to 5v5, right? They do have two major carries that they want to be funneling the gold into if they can. And that's going to be the major source of their damage, but it's an Azir and it's an Aphelios. There is no teleports there. And their side laner doesn't exist. Like, I think it's fair to say they do not have a side laner. They have a Janna with heal who wants to be grouping.
There will be two benefactors, however, of those carries that you highlight, given that Azir is looking to do attack damage, hence the Nashor's Tooth, so the Janna will only amplify that further. Not only will they be looking at the Aphelios show, they will have multiple wing cons in that basket as Liv returns to his lane with that Trinity Force. Will be an absolute monster now to try and contest. But Pabu, right place, right time once again. Able to pick himself up the second Herald. This time it will be looking to break through those turrets.
Chungi shoves his face into the bush and does find a ward. Pabu, of course, getting the knowledge that he is in the area. Nice hook. They are going to follow.
They're going to look to the collapse this time. The box gets deployed. The pillar to make sure he has nowhere to turn. He goes for the all-in collapse and he finds it in a 1v3. Not a bad exchange. The best he probably could have hoped to find. But this will now mean that they can summon the Heralds and no doubt look to push in for two turrets.
For just a moment there, I thought that was a fantastic... Oh, hang on, mid lane.
Yeah, back is in trouble. Both junglers looking to try and be as proactive as possible. Flash for flash, but he's got nowhere to turn right now. Into a spear. That will stun him. And that's lights out. The kill will not be donated across. Bass picks it up. Two turrets fallen down.
Yeah, they'll get something back, but the cost is very high. They lose two turrets in top lane. They do lose their top laner as well. And while he gets a 1-for-1 trade, that objective control, you know, the ability to control the map because you've lost both turrets in top lane becomes a lot harder to do. Get back does fall. Both summoners used as well by the Azir in that exchange. Does make it a lot easier to continue to catch him. And they open the window to give them something extra in return.
game will be up very shortly. And you imagine that is what they're contesting for. I see audio, I see video, I see it all.
We're back.
The turret falls on down. And that's what they wanted to prevent us from seeing. The gold is even 18 minutes into this game.
Yeah, so the bottom lane outer turret is going to drop another structure in favor of PGG. Hard to say if there was a trade somewhere else on the map, but we are looking at a Drake in 20 seconds, Skibby. The third of the game, and I think every time I'm casting, it's going to be a Cloud Soul at the moment. That's just the way it is. This mid lane outer turret sure to fall soon as well as it starts to get cloaked lower and lower. You've got Biopanther here now. The reinforcements have arrived, the squad's together. The question is always, what happens elsewhere on the map? And can Biopanther use a shield for damage just once on Get Back's health bar?
They would love to force a fight right now as Praetor has a significant advantage over the Ezreal with the completed Infinity Edge and a Cloak crit as well. As opposed to Emblem is still scaling up with the blue Ezreal optimization. Although it looks like he is going to go for the Trinity Force instead of the Iceborne Gauntlet this game. Second Dragon online now here for Pentanet. So as you say, still avoiding as much of those 5v5 skirmishes as possible.
I'll be hunting. But of course a nice Jana Tornado as well. We're going to keep him well and truly happy and alive. Mammoth have started to group up themselves. So this is going to be that ebb and flow of the macro play right now for both of these teams. Pentanet.gg, they will try and set up their side lanes. They will want to push out bottom, they'll want to push out top, they want to build slow pushes if possible, but they want to buy as much time as they can for themselves to be more grouped than anything else. They could 1-4, but you'd want to have the Azir and the Aphelios on the same screen if you're looking to take some fights. And honestly, probably around objectives. You know, the type of situations where you can sit in side lanes and then you can group up for a purpose where your opponents have to respond. You know, they've already got the second Drake, so they get closer to that being higher and higher priority for Mammoth. Whereas Mammoth, they'll want to sit in those side lanes when those objectives will spawn and bring Pentanet to them.
Rogue Hex flashes out, leaves Pabu to his own device right now, and he's forced to flash out, but it receives a nice little heal and a shield. No one going to fall victim to any kill attempt here with the Baron now just spawning 20 minutes into this game. You can see that there is already some utility starting to come online with Janna completing the Fiend's Unholy Grail and the Shurelia's on the fresh as well with 2 completed items on the Aphelios. It's that point where you start to get a little bit nervous.
Yeah, opens the door for more usefulness in a lot of his abilities as well, now that he has got that sniper that you can currently see. If he's able to hit a mark on an enemy, the Runar's Hurricane does actually bounce a lot of nearby targets as well. So 1 Infinity Edge crit, half health suddenly to an Ahri. And you're like, oh my god, that didn't even hit me, but at Runar's half my health down. Welcome to Aphelios. That starts to become possible at the moment.
But based on the stalling that has taken place here, Mammoth are able to stabilize and get those spikes online for themselves as well. With Imboma now completing the Trinity Force, the Muramana evolution now is present and available there as well. The damage output between these two AD carries will be formidable, as Mammoth in this 1v1 setup, knowing that Pabu has no flash, wished to give him a bit of a taste of his own medicine from what was a very aggressive parving towards the mid lane. He's going to warrant 3 members catching him in that side lane and Artek to pick up the juice.
Yeah, Artek does have to throw out the cannon Q to be able to lock him down at all, but still survives for quite some time mid lane.
Slam dunk, instantly into a Monsoon to make sure there is a disengage there. No chance to pick that one up, but an easy rotation from bot lane into mid as Rogue went fishing with the hook. A flash attempt comes out from both the Janna and the Aphelios, so a nice little amount of pressure exerted on the map here by Mammoth.
Yeah, lots of summoner spells being able to be used. You know, the Ahri keeps the flash while the Ignite was burned. They do still, so 1, they get the Trundle, 2, they get the summoner spells in mid lane. You can see already what a Janna is capable of against a set if they're both grouped up trying to get engages off. There's possibilities there, but the rest of Mammoth, you know, the reinforcements arrive. The damage is still high enough against someone like a Janna that it forces the summoners from her. But still, this window of opportunity that we were talking about earlier starts to build even more.
Liv continues to find targets to take out of the fight into his team for an easy pick. The more Cloud Dragons that Pentanet can acquire, the easier for them to try and disengage from. There's no doubt about that, but Summoners are having to be utilized to ensure they do not fall on down for numbers disadvantages. So those 5v5s that don't appear to be that present will then become an outcome that is a very real possibility. Next Dragon up in 1 minute.
23 minutes into this one, there's only 5 kills as well. You would say pretty slow-paced overall. A lot of the game has revolved around the jungler activity, and if they're able to make plays somewhere, I wouldn't say it's too surprising given the comps, but we're fighting again.
It's waiting for that one moment that opens up this game, because the goal is dead even, and it's going to come down to potentially this. Somebody getting caught on the rotation in that split push setup. That's going to be the pick on to Lived, one of the core cruxes that allowed them to start off these team fights. Now making it a 4v5. Pentanet may look to find more. Chungy in a spot above it, has that flash and has not used it, has never needed to. As the Spirit Dash once again comes in clutch, mid-tier 1 falls on down, and Azir continues to get bigger.
It is worth pointing out that Set is the easiest person to catch on their team as well. A decent amount of mobility elsewhere on the roster. But they'll get the pick, they'll get the pressure as well in mid lane. They force Chuggy to the side, they'll be able to break the mid lane outer turret. Now they'll also get themselves the 3rd Drake of the game for them. That will be sole point for PGG. They still retain control of Summoner's Rift, but there is still some shaky moments. However, they have a 500 gold shutdown on that Aphelios for Praetor. I mean, he's going to be getting closer to 3 items, Skibby.
That's what Praetor loves to do. He comes at a laning phase. He's always got the item advantage. He's always got the golds. But it became a bit of a talking point as to never getting to actually utilize or showcase how far ahead he was of his counterpart. Now, that's a very real opportunity for Mammoth to swing the goal back to their favor as a result of Liv falling down and starting to create a bit of a buffer between these two teams.
Yeah, there's been I expected to see more of Liv just being really hard focused towards side lane control, but it does seem like a lot of the fights have... Oh, hang on, 5 members going to cop it.
And Boma's had enough of it. He goes in aggressively right now. True Shot Rush connects, but no, it doesn't. The lantern into the Monsoon to make sure he does not fall on down. Chungy desperate to make something happen. He dashes forward aggressively, pops the Ignite, but by time for disengage, it is now a 4v5 as Rogue is the focal point, and he gets face maker down into the dirt. Mammoth find what they need after being so patient for so long, and then Boma acting as an initiator with the red buff to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, the lack of summoner spells come back to hurt. Pentanet.gg just a little bit there. You can see Biopanther not having a flash, a major catalyst for that fight starting. A good little pick as well, just good damage honestly thrown onto him. Confidence from Mammoth and from Mboma specifically. And then a lot of weaving, dodging, ducking and diving in and out for the rest of Mammoth to be able to lock down that kill. But it is only 1 kill, and it is only the support of PGG. And so they are still able to stand strong and prevent anything further from coming from that.
You get to see
an
opportunity for Azir to really get himself online and into this fight. He's got the Banshees now, so the one-shot ability on himself is going to be as easy to access. And he continues to go the gold lead in his favor. Probably sacrificing a lot of his own individual power to put it elsewhere.
Being honest, Artek just spent a significant amount of the last minute just being annoying in the face of Pabu, keeping him busy, it felt like. Well, Mboma's just freely clearing waves, but I think that is an upgraded support item. He didn't actually get the reset off at all for some extra wards, so now they'll continue to pressure forwards. Compliments of the vision control from the rest of the team, and they will break the outer turret.
Every flash available, but that was a flash from Liv to try and bring members in close. Now let's put on Bob, that's going to pop the Sterix. Now he's in so much trouble. And Philios snipes him from 4,000 miles away. True Shot Barrage comes out, but a little too late. As Biopanther can sidestep that one, top himself up there with the Monsoon. The reduction coming in clutch right now, because that'll be up very shortly. They find the all-important pick. It's the set once again, and now it's a rotation. Let's pick up Baron.
Aphelios may be the only champion that can consistently make me pull a stank face. Just watching the dirty things that come out of that character. 27 minutes in, hit the Baron here. Very hard for Mammoth to contest this one without their top laner. But they're looking.
Rogue wants it. He's on the flank right now. He's found Artek, and he gets deleted. Praetor showing what an Aphelios can do when he hits these breakpoints in the game. It's the classic Baron dance. It results in another kill, and that for sure is a shot which complements them so well. 90 seconds sitting on Soul Point.
Yeah, it's not just a multiple item Aphelios either. It's a Janna in his pocket protecting him. It's a Thresh in his pocket protecting him as well. And if the 5v5 fight does, in fact, break out, you've got an Azir who can use the Emperor's Divide to stand in front of you, as well as a Trundle Pillar. This composition is designed very well around having that Aphelios being ahead and keeping him there to snowball a game through to a victory. And I mean, you look at the stats right now on that scoreboard, a 700 gold shutdown. He's huge.
You talk about the protection from the Janna, from the entire composition, really, when you put it that way. The QSS is going to add that extra level of security if need be. Now upgraded to the Mercurial Scimitar. Lifesteal for the sustain. Everything looking the goods right now here for Praetor. The shop complete. The ARAM continues. And the time is set here for Mammoth to try and find that all-important shutdown.
Waiting for this Drake to be alive is the major thing here. Mid lane priority going to be very much enforced by both of these respective teams. Waiting for that next wave to crash will coincide just prior to the Drake being able to be hit. Pabu now putting a lot of pressure on the match.
Shrelia's popped online. A massive flank. Moonlight Vigil comes up the ace. He gets taken out, and it's Mboma that finds the shutdown. But it may not be enough because everything goes the way of Pensnet. They are a steam train going right through to Pound Town. They delete everything in their way. Only the jungler survives. But the numbers advantage is so big at such a crucial time. The soul point is gone.
Yeah, that will be the Cloud Soul. Mammoth clump, they group, and it's just all too easy for Praetor to hit that one home, use the ultimate, and just honestly almost one-taps everybody. Easy team fight for them. They'll get the soul. They may even start moving over for some extra Baron control, but we'll get to see this one more time as the pillar that kicks it all off. They're all slowed down right next to Praetor, and he has the flamethrower as well. And yes, he does go down, but the damage that he dealt just prior to that was already too high, and they have Getback still freely attacking people. He also gets a 750 shutdown onto Mboma at the back end as well. Like, they've just given all the money to the right places. It may be too far gone in this game, even though it's a 2,000 gold difference, unless Mammoth start really addressing this game state and how they want to play it out.
That damage was disgusting, very reminiscent of Aphelios on launch there, when he was able just to delete all 5 members with that combination. But regardless, showcasing what it can really do, and it's only going to get worse here with that ultimate reduction. The movement speed from the passive of Janna, the movement speed passive from the soul itself. They have so much mobility. Shrelia's everything. You cannot run away.
A couple of summoners now missing though. So you're looking at no flash on Get Back or Praetor. The possibility of picking them out with an Echo Stun now becomes a little bit more viable. Not going to be easy to do though. A lot of the reliance there is actually on Chungi. You mentioned this before as well, before we got in the game, what runes he would take, the Electrocute. So less pick potential is the major point of that one. Instead of the Glacial, you will have more damage.
Raw damage is what they're looking for, and quite honestly, it's really what they need here. They need an ability to find a crucial pick target. They're being so reliant on Liv to try and set up the goods.
Dude, that's the, why are they reliant on Liv to set things up when he should be in a side lane, is what I'm currently watching.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I look at this game, I look at the draft, and I feel like Janna wants to group. They have no teleport. Excuse me? The entirety of Pentanet.gg has no teleport. If you can at least set up a side wave, you make this game easier for yourself. But I feel like the past few minutes, we've just seen set grouping.
He has the stopwatch, as does the Echo. They know that this next fight could be a big one, could be a deal breaker. Bass is literally, quite honestly, just walked straight through mid, scanning out information. Chrono breaks back into another jungler.
Nice.
I don't know what he's doing, but Rogue finds the hook. A 4v5. Bass, I've got a question mark over my head as to what that play actually meant. That's the invitation, a gift, if anything, that Pentanet need to say thanks for the Baron.
Yeah, we're starting to get a little bit unhinged here from Mammoth's side of the coin. Chuggy is on the most deep flank. He's going to get a charm off.
Okay, he's looking for it. Once again, Biopem denies the execute with that Zonia's Monsoon coming in absolutely clutch, but that Haymaker does so much damage. But don't forget about this. Aphelios now with a double kill, keeps the leash on the Baron. The fight continues. Mboma getting aggressive. Flashes on. Mystic shots will not connect. Now he's playing the piano, cycling those cooldowns. 1, 2, 3. Look at me. Can I find the kill? I'm probably going to fall on down. Can I take you with me? Yes, he can. Mboma, you talk about it from the laning state. He does do the damage, and he will try and put this game on his own back.
Credit where it's due to Mboma, though. He puts in work. He's got no one to assist him. He flashes confidently. Yes, the Q was dodged, but he committed. He knew that he was stuck in that position and tries to maximize his damage output. And full credit to it, because he does get shutdowns and does get kills. He knows what he's doing on Ezreal. We see this fight again. It's just Bass getting caught in mid lane. Questions can be raised about why exactly was he there, and there is no real answer, but a wonderful flank from Pabu is why they're able to secure that kill as the pillar keeps him down. Now this fight starts, and Praetor has got a whole lot of shurikens, so this is probably not a fight that you want to overly commit to taking, but Liv flashes in. He'll get a big W after this ult to secure the first kill, trades his life for it. And now it becomes more about Mboma and what he could do, because if you're avoiding the Aphelios, who has 7 million shurikens available, then maybe you could win the fight. That Q missing actually removes all of the chakrams that he had available, and suddenly this is much more viable. And while he does miss a couple of Qs here and there, he's so confident knowing that he needs to make the trade and maximize his damage output that he does actually get 850 extra gold.
He is holding on for dear life right now. He's got the Death Stance, he's got the Serrated Dirk, and an Executionist as well. If he can land, if he can act as a sniper, he can try and disrupt the power that Ajana presents. Slam dunk into one, Liv called out. Haymaker before he falls on down, and fall down he does. Redemption to top them up. The momentum definitely favoring Pentanet.gg right now. It's a 4v5. They chase, they go, they have so much mobility, and Moonlight Vigil will lock them in place with the Gravitum connecting. A numbers advantage once again here. Rusty might just be all she wrote.
I'll be honest with you,
go back to Baron.
Start to shit me now. If I don't see Liv in a side lane, I'm going to lose my mind.
But top lane is so easy.
Please, mid lane. It's so easy to be a top laner if you're never there.
Oh, the Emperor's Divide. Hello, get back. You can't do it again. You can't run us back with that deja vu play this time, Mboma. Baron buff goes across. Pentanet now 5,000 gold leads. They've got everything online here.
Yeah, I think with this Baron buff, also Eldar in 20 seconds, I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to stop Pentanet.gg from taking this one and probably just getting the whole game from it. Looking at the gold difference, it is only 4,000, right? So they are still getting their shutdowns, getting some gold into the pockets of the right members. But ultimately, this Baron provides too much control for them, and they just continue to pick Liv out of position as he walks to objectives. Here we go again.
3 and 7 at the moment, has not had a good showing here, has fallen down to Ajana, which just provides so much more utility to the team as a whole when they have grouped on up. It was a slow burner to get to this stage of the game. They continue to grab and grab on these dragons. And then as soon as the Baron became a very real reality, the fight became an absolute nightmare. Elder Soul is here now as well. Everything in the pockets here for Pentanet. They find a lane, they stick to it, they push. Inhibitor and the win condition.
It goes without saying now that the ball is in their court. They should just be able to walk it down this lane as well and continue to push forwards. The Inhibitor as a bare minimum will drop. They have the Janna shields and the Thresh shields for extra tankiness on Pabu. He can just put his face in it right in the middle there and stop them from getting those minions down, and the game should just end.
One falls on down, a second to follow. The Nexus Tower is exposed. A last-ditch effort here for Mammoth. They jump in, but they can't do much, especially when Elder is online. And an Aphelios is this far forward. He's going to find himself what appears to be a Quadra. His team want to facilitate it. They are diving the fountain for it. Liv does not want his KD to go any lower than that. It will be a Quadra kill. And Pentanet.gg will get themselves off to a flying start with a 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give it to Pabu, right? For taking that Nexus turret, the fountain there. You can get this Pedra if you could actually get those crits off, but he's not going to find it, unfortunately, Praetor. But what we can say is fantastic week one from PGG. Pabu seems to have integrated into the team brilliantly, and they're playing around him well. It seems like they're an entirely reinvented squad with only the one real change there.
They are definitely finding that their identity, their weird, wacky nature this time is paying off. A very different turnaround from what was the start here for Pentanet in split number 1, but that does it for game number 3. We still have one more game for you, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you after the break.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
Welcome to the 2020 OPL. I am Nick Boy Richardson.
And that's a beautiful hemo play onto multiple members. He gets himself a double kill.
It's Raze doing what he does, the team fight king.
We love everybody. We love the OPL.
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact free, we'll be here.